Hello everyone and welcome to my shop. In this video I'm going to make signs in 3 different ways with my CNC machine. Stick around. A CNC machine is the best tool for making signs. There are basically 3 different methods for making signs. The letters or shapes sit proud of the surface. The letters or shapes are lower than or carved into the surface. And the letters or shapes are level with the surface. I am going to show you a small project using each method. The first method involves the letters or shapes sitting proud of the surface of the backboard or back panel. For this method, we need to cut out the letters or shapes separately and then attach them to a board or a panel. A friend of mine asked for a sign for his company. He wanted a simple design and specifically mentioned that the letters should have a good contrast with the background. So here I am cutting out the letters. This requires only one contour toolpath to cut out everything. The only thing I want to note here is that when cutting small and delicate pieces, they can easily chip or fly off the board. So make sure you use proper work holding and adjust the feed and speed rate accordingly. For the backboard, I am using a piece of oak plywood. I apply edge banding to all edges. By the way, I made a sign/art project a few months ago using a similar approach. I will leave the link to that video up in the corner and in the description in case you want to check it out. Alright, back to the build. To create a good contrast with the letters, I am using an ebony dark stain. After that, I applied 3 coats of water-based poly, and then it's just a matter of attaching the letters and shapes to the backboard. And for that you can use either CA glue or pin nails. And here is the final product. For the second method, I am going to create the sign of the logo of my channel and my company. In this method, we carve into the wood, which means the letters and the shapes are going to be lower than the surface. This is basically the easiest way to make signs. It requires less material and only 1 or 2 toolpaths. As you can see, my logo is black and white, so I need to create a white background, and after carving, I can paint the letters black. And since it's going to be painted, I am using MDF for this. MDF machines really well and leaves a very clean edge. However, MDF absorbs a lot of paint. So before I start painting it white, I sand it with 220 grit sandpaper and apply 2 coats of shellac. Shellac seals the top layer of MDF and prevents it from absorbing too much paint. And after that, I apply 2 coats of white paint using a roller. Now, before starting to carve the letters, I stick this vinyl masking film to the board. What this vinyl masking does is when the carving is done, I can paint the letters black, and when I lift the remaining mask, it will leave a clean edge. Here at Carbide Create, I trace the image of my sign and resize it to match my stock size. For the toolpath, I choose Advanced V-Carve. The benefit of Advanced V-Carve is that you can use an end mill to clear out to the depth limit and then use a V-bit to cut along the perimeter. This reduces the overall running time and gives a cleaner cut. I spray the letters and shapes with black paint and let it dry. And after an hour or 2, I came back and peel off the vinyl masking. There were few spots where the black paint bled into the white background, but those can be fixed with an easy touch-up. Then I just clean up and paint the edges and it is done. For the third method, I'm again going to use my logo to create a sign. In this method, the letters or shapes are level with the surface. So you either have to fill the carved letters with epoxy or use wood for that. Preferably use a type of wood that has a good contrast with the background. This method is called V-carve inlay and it involves two parts. This means we need two different files and toolpaths. The first part is exactly like our second method. We use advanced V-carve to create the pocket or the female part. For the male part or the inlay, we are going to use the same design as we did for the pocket, but there are a few things that we need to change to create the toolpaths. First, we need to mirror our design either horizontally or vertically. Here in our example, we are doing it horizontally. Then we need to draw a perimeter around our design. The purpose of this perimeter is that we want to carve the areas that weren't carved in our female part and vice versa. Finally, it is important to remember that when creating the toolpaths, we cannot use the same start and finish depth as we did for the female part. Otherwise, the two parts won't fit into each other. The best practice is to start lower than the surface and finish either higher than the finished depth of the female part or at the same depth. In our case, I am starting the advanced V-carve from the depth of 0.1 inches and finishing at 0.2 inches. And since I'm starting from 0.1 inches, I am going to create a pocketing toolpath from the depth of 0 to 0.1 inches to run before the advanced V-carve. After the two parts are carved, I use a generous amount of glue to join them together. A few taps with a mallet and the use of clamps ensure that the two parts are properly glued. And here you can enjoy my professional positioning of the camera. The next day, when the glue has dried, I run the whole thing through the drum sander to remove any excess wood. Then I use the CNC again to cut it into a circular shape. Using a chamfer bit, I add a small chamfer to both sides to make it smooth to the touch. I sand both sides with 220 grit sandpaper using my orbital sander and also hand sand the edges. For the finish, I apply a few coats of semi-gloss lacquer and then it is done, and I think it turned out beautiful. And as always, thank you all for watching, and I see you in the next one.